Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Olympicast for episode 2, the first of our weekly series that's going to be occurring every Friday to keep you up to date on what's going on in and around the Olympics from day 1 right up until the final day. Now today we are going to be talking about the Wave 1 events. Now I revealed what the Wave 1 events were going to be on Sunday, as well as the time and dates at which they would take place, but I didn't actually talk about them in depth as to what my predictions were or what I expect to happen. So that's what we'll be doing today, and this is going to be a recurring theme throughout all these weekly Olympicast episodes. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. I won't talk about the events in any particular order, I'll just pick whatever grabs my attention, but I will go over all 9 of them, and I'll try to be as concise as possible. So starting off, let's start off with Cards Against Humanity individual tournament. This is actually the last event in the Wave, but I pick it because it's got a lot of history within Tobog history. As it stands, the seedings currently stand as follows. At number 1, we have Gabe. 2nd is Sly. 3 is Cal. 4, Max. 5, Soli. And 6, MT. Now, this is a curious one because the top seed isn't actually the one who won the Olympic gold last year. That was Sly. But Gabe has proven to have far more consistent performances in Cards Against Humanity over the course of time. He did win the Cards Against Humanity League. While that never actually reached a natural conclusion, he did win it and won more than anyone else. That being said, Sly didn't compete that much in that league, so it's difficult to say which of the two is the better player, but just based on the extent of the past performances, I have to say that Gabe is still the favourite to win this. But what I will say is that as reigning champion, Sly also has a very damn good shot. If it's going to be anyone, I believe it'll be those two. If I had to pick, I will pick Gabe. But, to be honest with you, this is a very open contest because, by the nature of Cards Against Humanity, it really could go any one way or another. Now, of course, there is some degree of luck depending on what cards you draw, but the best players will be able to make the best of what cards they have. If that wasn't the case, Gabe wouldn't have won so consistently in the league. As for other players, Cal's a fairly consistent player. Soli, Max, yep, they're good. There are a few others I expect to compete, such as me, and I'm absolutely utter shite at it, so I won't even talk about that. But I only really expect a few to be, like, a handful to be competing for the podium. And I know that sounds obvious, but there are certain people I don't expect to get anywhere near. But I have been proven wrong in the past. It is entirely possible that someone like MT could get towards the podium. I don't know, but I don't see past Gabe or Sly winning the gold. Quite frankly, I don't think this is an event that Cal could win. I don't think this is his sort of area of expertise. This requires a very particular skill set, really. It's about knowing your opponents, their style of humour, and I think just the two I've mentioned are probably the best ones that I know about how to anticipate that. So I'm gonna say that they're gonna win that one. Alright, moving on, let's talk about Rocket League Hoops Pairs. Now, I did actually post a little bit about this on the Olympicast channel only a couple of hours ago. I've seeded this individually, even though it is a pairs tournament. And the reason I've done this is because, based on the knowledge we have from previous events, it's just best to do it this way. So, the seedings are as follows. At number 1, we've got Jack. Number 2, MT. 3, Radek. 4, Quick. 5, Kuya. 6, Blonde. 7, me. And 8, we've got Sly. These rankings are determined 100% based on the Hoops individual tournament from last year's Olympics, which was actually the very first event at last year's Olympics. This one is a bit difficult to judge because we've never actually done a 2v2 tournament in Hoops before. And like I said, all my seedings info is based on individual performances, but beyond that, it's also the fact that we haven't actually touched this game mode since last year. We have not really played it. The only Rocket League we've played since then is Soccer and Drop Shot. We haven't actually touched Hoops since then, so everyone is very inexperienced, and even Jack and MT, who came the top of the, they got to the final last year, will be at pretty much the same level of experience as all the others just because they haven't touched it for so long. Now, I expect the pairs will be putting in some practice beforehand, but I would say it would be fair to say that when the event comes around, everyone will have pretty similar levels of experience and practice to the name, so it comes down to inherent natural skill and general talent at Rocket League. So I'm going to keep Jack at the top of the list. Me and him are a pair. There's no bias, trust me. I'm not putting him at the top of the list just because he's my partner. But just based on past performances, I think he's good. He has a cool and collected head when it comes to Rocket League. Now, MT's problem is he is very talented and he is a good hoops player, but he has a tendency to let the game get to him. Now, I don't know if many of you recall last year, in the final, after losing the first game, MT completely lost all confidence. He just completely lost it. He wanted to give up pretty much, and he basically threw the second match. It's an unfortunate thing that happens, and I think Rocket League is a game that sort of perpetuates that sort of behavior more so than others. So if MT can keep his cool, I reckon he has a fairly good shot at getting the gold back from Jack. But I can't see past Jack winning it this year. But again, it would depend on who MT's partnered up with. Let's say he partnered up with Radek to go for a Canadian 1-2 punch. He's got the second and third seeds in the same team there, as opposed to with Jack, who's got the seventh seed on his team, but maybe it's hard to judge without knowing the pairs. But based on what I know so far, I'm going to say that it's Jack and me are probably the best options. But honestly, without knowing the pairs, it's kind of hard to predict. All right, now moving on to the third event, we have... Let's talk about Deadline, the first GTA event of these Olympics, the first of 8. It sets a good precedent. This is actually a marquee event. It's coming on opening day. It's the second event of the Olympics. And there's going to be a lot riding on it because this is an event that's very much enjoyed by all the different GTA players. Now, it is worth pointing out that Gabe is banned for the duration of which this event takes place. So there's only going to be 4 participants. Radek, me, MT, and Jack. And coincidentally, that is actually the seedings I've just given out to you. Radek is first, I'm third, MT is fourth, and Jack is fifth. Gabe would be second, but obviously, like I said, he's banned, so he's not in the seedings. Now, I'm basing this info on the GTA Winter Games, which was when the only situation in the past where we've had an organised competitive event of Deadline. Radek adopts a very patient and a very passive play style compared to all the others, and as such he tends to live longer than all the others, which works out fine for the life mode, like where you have 5 lives and you just use the last person to landing, but not so much for the kill modes. That was where he faltered in the Winter Games, and he really came close to losing because he was not good at killing. He's very good at defending, but not good at offense. We're going to be doing the same mode, mode mix this year, where we'll have 3 lives, 2 kills. Actually, no, because it's 7, it'll be 4 lives, 3 kills. So he does have the advantage in that regard, but he needs to play the life rounds pretty much flawlessly if he wants to get this gold. I think I'm going to put up a real tough challenge. And the thing is with this event, I don't think anyone is particularly bad at it. Jack is inexperienced, but he's proven himself very inherently strong at events like this in the past, and I don't think he's going to struggle as much as you might think he will. I think this is the sort of event he'll jump straight into and understand straight away and already be competing for gold. This is going to be a close event, really it is. I'm going to say Radek for gold, but only because, based on the little bit of data we have, I would say he's probably the strongest Deadline player. However, I think everyone's onto his tricks. I think people know how he plays, and they will definitely have that in mind. So, will it work again with that in mind? I don't know, but that's how my prediction's going to go. Alright, so how about OMG MBC Kawaka? Now, this is the final event of opening night. And this one's interesting because it's a very open event. There's going to be more people at this event, I would predict, than most events on average. I'm expecting around about 8 players to show up. And I think the thing is with something like Kawaka, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's Pac-Man. It is literally just Pac-Man. It's something everyone knows how to play. Even the least seasoned gamer knows how to play Pac-Man. It's a very simple process, and you can jump straight into it. You don't even taught how to play. You just go in, and you will figure it out within 5 seconds. Anyone can get involved in it. And everyone at the bulk here knows how to play Pac-Man. They can get delved straight in. But just knowing how to play doesn't always mean you're going to do well. The ghosts are very aggressive in Kawaka. It's the most aggressive version of Pokemon I've ever played, and it is very tough. But given practice, you can get better. So the seedings, I've put Cal at number 1 because he has so far posted the highest scores. Actually, earlier today, he posted a score of 30,000, which is far and wide above anything anyone else has produced. That he broke the Tobog record twice in the space of about an hour. I can't argue against that sort of thing. So that's why I put him as top seed. MT is second because he is very good. He is actually reigning champion from the OMG games, but Cal wasn't performing very well at the OMG games. He has performed significantly better since. Black is third because he gave MT a real run for his money. In fact, he actually pushed MT towards a tiebreaker in the OMG games, but he just wasn't able to get that little bit of ground. I think if Black put in some practice ahead of the event, he could be challenging for gold, but he needs that practice because at the moment he's woefully behind the other two ahead of him. At number 4, we've got me. At number 5, we've got Cryonics, which may surprise some people, but it's just based on his performance at the games. He did very well. At number 6, we've got Quick, and at number 7, we've got no one, actually. I don't know why I said that. So yeah, that's the current seedings at the moment. Obviously, that doesn't include people who I expect to play at the event, but haven't got any data on them from the past. People like Sly or Soli or maybe even Igni. People who I expect to participate, but I don't have any data on them having played Kawaka, so I don't know how to judge. So we could get complete unknowns coming in and just going bam, hitting scores of 40, 50k and destroying everyone. I don't know, but based on what I have, I can't see past Cal winning this, and I do really mean that. I think this could be one of the most predictable events of the opening wave because his performances have just been absolutely stellar compared to everyone else. But given practice, I think MT and Black could really push him for that gold medal. Alright, now event number 5. Let's talk about the Last of Us Pairs tournament. Again, this is a bit of an odd one. We have a little bit of data to go by on this, but it's not much. We had Last of Us at the last year's Olympics, but it was the triples tournament. We will be playing the triples tournament again in the back half of the Olympics in like June, July, in August or September. But this information is different. Going from triples to pairs is a significant change. Then the maps aren't as suited to pairs as they are. Like, you are more isolated. As ironic as it sounds, you are more isolated in pairs than you would be in triples because there tends to be a tendency to spread out. And if you lose one person, you're on your own. You don't have the buffer of having someone else with you. You have to command an entire round on your own, essentially. It's a lot of hard work. This one is hard to judge. It really is, which is ironic because we've got a lot of data to pull from. We've been playing The Last of Us for ages, and we've been playing against each other for ages. We've got plenty of competitive history in The Last of Us, but it's just hard for me to judge because people get rusty. Whoever used to be good in the old days isn't necessarily good now. And triples last year, there wasn't actually a great deal for me to push from because Radek and Jack, who are considered two of the best players, weren't even there at the time. The gold at that event was won by me, Gabe, and Law, and we beat out MT, Quick, and Blonde, I think it was. And they ended up with silver. So I find it hard to judge this one, but I've come up with some seedings. I've put Jack as number 1, Radek as number 2, me as number 3, MT as number 4, Gabe as 5, and Quick as 6, and Law as 7. Now, I wouldn't put much past these seedings because these are, like I said, they're difficult to judge. Jack and Radek are up there on reputation more than anything else. They're very rusty. They haven't played for a while. I think Jack, he won this single game that happened in the Last of Us League in November. Not that that really means much, but I think throughout the book history, he's just been the more celebrated and renowned The Last of Us player in general. He's going to be pairing up with me for that event, which would mean that the first and third seeds are on a team together, which is pretty awesome, but we haven't played together before as a pair, so I don't know. Radek, I think, has got a good shout, but again, like with Jack, he's rusty. He needs to get back into the game. MT and Gabe, they're seeded fourth and fifth, but I think that belies their talent. They are very underrated at The Last of Us. They are good support players. Depending on who they get paired up with, they could be very deadly. I mean, there's kind of this tendency to be like the big players, like Shaq and Radek, who do the most kills, but they are only tend to succeed because of the underlying players who help them out, and that's the sort of people like MT and Gabe who do that. Overall, this one is very hard to judge based on what information I have, but I'm going to have to go for Jack and me to win it. But without knowing what the other pairs are going to be, it's almost impossible to actually make an accurate prediction. So I'm going to move swiftly on to OMG MOBC Bubbles 2. I really have very little data to go on this because we've played a competitive scene in it once. This was at the OMG Games. Eggs won the gold quite emphatically. MT took silver and Parrot. I took bronze. So I'm pretty easy for you to figure out what the seedings for this are. Only 3 people participated. I anticipate around about 5 or 6 players showing up for this one at the Olympics, which makes it very hard to judge and to anticipate what's going to happen because only 3 people showed up at the ONG Games. I don't know what to expect of most of the people who I expect to turn up now. I could get someone like Nagy coming in and absolutely destroying everyone else. She could be an absolute talent at this, and there's no way I could have known because she's never played it before. And it's the same case with like Gabe and Sly, Igni, Soli, whoever. They could all come in and be absolutely amazing. What little data I've got to go on points towards an Egg's victory, because he was very good at the game, but I don't even know if he's going to come back from the ban. But if he does, I would place him as the favourite. But this is probably, out of the first 9 events, the most difficult to judge. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. Apart from one event, which we'll get to later. So I'm not going to spend too much longer talking about this one. Eggs for gold, but it's, like I said, impossible to judge. So now we reach the final 3 events left to talk about in this wave. So I'm going to try and get through this pretty quickly as this has gone on a bit longer than I anticipated. Let's start off with Chinese Checkers. Now, this was the event I was referring to just a moment ago when I said there was one event that's least predictable. Now, the thing is with Chinese Checkers is it wasn't actually in the Olympic roster until a couple of days ago. Even after I published the final roster, this still got in because Tabletop 8 Ball was complete and utter wank. Like, it really... I hoped we could get through it. But I have a practice session with Radek. It just doesn't work as an event at all. It's too glitchy. It's too unreliable. It's not a valid event. So Chinese Checkers was the backup event for Tabletop Simulator, which has come in. I mean, what can I say about this? We have played one game, me versus Radek, and that was literally it. It was just to test the viability of it, and that was it. There was so little data to draw from here. Desperately little data, and I can't really tell you much. I have seedings, but they mean nothing. Okay, so Radek is top because he beat me. I've put Nagy as second because she's regular Checkers champion from OMG, so I guess she knows what she's doing. I could be completely false about that. I put myself as third because I've actually played it. Cal was fourth because he watched us play it. Soli as fifth because it seems like the sort of thing she might be good at. And Sly as sixth because, because why not? I don't know what to say. I mean, this only became an event very recently. And there's so little to talk about in this. I mean, we need to do some serious practice, all of us, on this before it happens. But literally, I've put Radek as favourite, but what does that mean? It means absolutely nothing. I can't possibly make a prediction as to who's win gold. So I'm going to move on very swiftly. Let's move on to Pokemon Crafted Singles. Now, this is one of the more interesting ones to talk about because Pokemon has a greater depth of competitive history in Toboggan than a lot of other events does. It blossomed at last year's Olympics. It was without a doubt the big, what's the right word? Breakthrough of the last year's Olympics. The Pokemon, the hype and anticipation and preparation that went into every event was, I didn't even care about Pokemon, but it was almost infectious. I got involved in it. I wanted to see what was going on. It was a lot of fun. There is a very small community for Pokemon Showdown in Tobog, but it's very tight between all of them. Of course, the one everyone knows is the best and has proven himself the best consistently over time is Cal. And he is top seed. Rather unsurprisingly, he did win the Crafted Singles tournament last year. He also won the triples, but he didn't win the doubles, which is his marquee event, oddly enough. I've based these seedings on basically entirely on last year's Olympic performance. So number 1 is Cal, number 2 is Cora, number 3 Towboy, number 4 Quick, and number 5 Gabe. You immediately see some problems here because Cora's probably not even going to show up. I mean, what are the odds of that happening? Towboy should show up. he will probably be the closest threat to Cal. Gabe won't actually be there because he'll be banned for the duration. So it narrows it down to the 4 of them. And with that in mind, I can't see past Cal winning this, but I don't know much about Pokemon. You know, Cal has proven himself the strongest competitor. He won the Pokemon League. He was slipping towards the end, but he was slipping to Gabe. And Gabe's not going to be there for this one, so I don't know. Unless Towboy or Quick pulls out something really special, then I can't see past Cal taking home this gold and, you know, retaining it from last year. It's difficult to judge this one, but I think Cal. But if someone else does win, it will be wow. You know, it'll be amazing because I think that will really shake Cal off for the rest of for the few coming events after that. And to finish off, event number 9, which is actually event number 1, the very first event, PlayStation All-Stars Individual. This is quite predictable, this one. And it's quite sad that the first event is so predictable, but it's just the way it is. Seedings, number 1, MT, number 2, Law, number 3, Radic, number 4, Para, based entirely on the free-for-all performance last year, which isn't the same event. There will be a free-for-all event later in the Olympics, but it's the best data I have. This has got a very long and storied history in Tobog, but a lot of the older data just isn't that relevant to us because it's so long ago and people completely lose their talent over time. Max could show up. I don't know. I don't know if he will. He could. He has every possibility to show up, but I don't know if he will. I don't know. If he does, then we're going to have a much juicier match. I honestly think if he turns up, he's got a lot of inherent natural raw talent. At his best, he was significantly better than MT. Now, I don't know. But if he does show up, we're going to have a much more interesting event. But I'm going to say he probably won't because it's Max. And with that in mind, I think MT for gold. Law is definitely his closest opposition. I think me and Radic will just be there to make up the numbers, really. But it's an MT gold, I'm afraid. I think that's as far as it goes. So that's my predictions for what's going to happen in Wave 1 of the Olympics, the first 9 events. Do you agree with my predictions? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you have anything to say at all? Please do let me know. Don't drop a comment in this video or whatever. Talk to me on Discord about it. You know, just go on Discord, talk with us, and let's talk and let's go it over. I would love to talk some in depth with some people about what they think can happen in these first 9 events. Yeah, so a couple of quick announcements to make out of the way. Well, you would have got this already, but Tabletop 8 Ball has been replaced by Chinese checkers. We are a week away today from the start, so there is 7 days as of the publication of this video until we start the Olympics. So get practicing. And for those of you who haven't got your pairs sorted for Rocket League and The Last of Us, do it now. Do it now. Pokemon players, get your team sorted. It will creep up on you faster than you will expect. I know a lot of you are finishing off finals, but as far as I'm aware, they should be finishing quite soon. So you should all start getting some time to practice. But get in practice, especially for the earlier events like Kawaka, Deadline. Just do it. You know, get it done, and you'll have a significantly better chance of winning those medals. Other than that, I don't really have anything to say. The next episode will be next Friday, where I'm going to actually look back at the past Olympics, the 2016 Olympics, and talk about their impacts, their results, and how they're going to reflect forwards towards these ones. That will actually be literally a couple of hours before the beginning of the next Olympics. So, yep. And then after that, we're going to have regularly scheduled programming all the way through, going over everything that's happened. So, I hope you've enjoyed listening to this video, and if you like what you've seen, keep tuned to the channel, subscribe, and more videos will be coming to you every Friday to talk about the Toboggan Olympics. But I've been Paramedic 203. Thank you very much for listening. I'm out.